Hi, and welcome to our Parent Support webinar. I'm Jamie Koo, Parent Engagement Specialist here at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. With me today are Jenna Picata, Academic Technology Specialist, and Olivia Santillan, History Social Studies Coordinator. We acknowledge that there have been some major disruptions in your life due to COVID-19. I mean, from an educational perspective, we parents are now COVID-19 homeschool teachers. So we're here today to help bridge the gap between home and school by providing you with some strategies. We're going to go ahead and give a minute or so for everyone to join in on the call. And as you're waiting, would you all introduce yourselves in the chat? On the bottom of the Zoom window, click on the icon that says chat, and a new window will pop up for you to type in your response. Please tell us your name, your kid's school district, and most importantly, what inspired you to join in on our webinar today? Don't forget to reply to everyone so we can greet you all.
All right, I'm taking a look at the feed and we have Susie Cortez joining us from Santa Clara Unified. And we have Heidi Ross Lee from Berryessa. And Shanti from Berryessa as well. Veronica Puntz from Santa Clara Unified. Kuldip Singh, and I apologize if I'm reading your name wrong. And you can also, if you want to raise your hand, I can also unmute you as well. Also from Berryessa, so a lot of Berryessa folks joining us today.
Hi everyone! That's my homeschool district.
Awesome. Lisa Wetter from private school. And Ruby, who has a kid from Frost Elementary in the Oak Grove School District. And Angela Chan is a homeschool mom. And Shirley Tran from Orchard School District. Welcome, everybody. And Ha Nguyen from Santa Clara Unified. Sarah Baird from Orchard School District. This is great. And I think it's just starting to slow down, but if anybody else out there didn't get a chance to introduce yourself, go ahead and just stick it in the chat.
Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and move on. A few housekeeping items here. We are going to be muting everyone to eliminate the background noise. We do have a chat function, as you guys have all already joined in. With different points of this webinar today, we'll have opportunities for you to chime in. Either you can type in your response in the chat, or if you would like to raise your hand, we'll love to unmute you and have you join in our discussion. So again, thank you for all of you who are joining in and introducing yourselves. Again, my name is Jamie Koo, and I'm the Parent Engagement Specialist here at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We have Jenna Picata, she's our Academic Technology Specialist, and Olivia Santillan, who is our History Social Studies Coordinator. And like the title of the webinar suggests, I taught middle school English language arts for 10 years, and I'm currently the proud mom of 2 girls, ages 13 and 10. I'm very happy to serve as the Parent Engagement Specialist. The bulk of my work involves hosting a parenting workshop series for parents of elementary and secondary students. The 2 main goals of the workshop series are to, number 1, promote a healthy balance in family life, and 2, to give tools for parents to support student success in academic studies. Today is actually the first episode of a 4-part webinar series where I will present snippets and highlights from the contents of those parenting workshop series. Okay, so here are today's goals. The first is Adapting teacher strategies. What do teachers do in the classroom to manage behavior that might work at home? The second is adopting a teacher mindset. When thinking about learning outcomes, what is the one thing that you want your kids to know at the end of the day? Certainly there's a lot of different outcomes and objectives that your teacher might want the kids to know, but as a parent, we have to make some adjustments there. We have to just adopt the teacher's mindset. And finally, amplifying parent advocacy, which means what barriers do I need to overcome so that I can get what is best for my child? And more importantly, where can I get support and resources? I understand that there's a few limitations to these strategies. Let me just name a couple. The first is that the strategies I present today are not a one-size-fits-all. You know your child's needs the best, and will still need to refine some of these strategies. Hopefully what I present today will give you confirmation of what is going well for your family and confidence to try a new approach for your child's benefit. I will only be presenting a few best practices so you aren't overwhelmed with too much information. Okay, so let's get started. Managing a family schedule, tip number 1. The first is you might have already created a family schedule, but continue to have regular family meetings to talk about the learning needs for your kids and the work commitments for the adults. Maybe you'll find that creating a shared calendar will help everyone in the family communicate expectations. Parents might have to tag team and share responsibilities for watching younger children throughout the day. Readjust the schedule when necessary. So a couple of things you can do to help create the schedule is to designate a learning space. This definitely helps get your kids into the mindset that when they are at their desk or their learning station, it is time to learn. Okay guys, real talk here. This is a picture of my kids' learning space. It's not big, but it has their laptop. It has a little pencil cup with their pens, erasers, pencils. They have calendars posted on their whiteboard, books stashed on the table, and the magazine holder. Everything that they need for learning is right there in that one space. And you can see that it is well used. Giving kids a smaller space means that they can learn to manage a smaller mess when it comes time to clean up. Creating a learning schedule. So I'm assuming that most of your kids are already in elementary, middle, or high school. That's kind of the target audience here. Their teachers may have already given them a learning schedule with some virtual meeting times, some check-ins, some learning activities. Feel free to schedule learning times according to your family's needs. Some people may only be able to help their kids in the evening times, and that's okay, but be sure to stay consistent. When you have a consistent schedule, it's a lot more reassuring for the kids. Don't forget to include a recess for a healthy snack and some physical activity. This image here is a screenshot of my family's shared calendar. It is color-coded for each family member. It can help us see the potential time conflicts, coordinate lunch duties if one of the parents has a working lunch, and it reminds of activities that are different from the rest of the week. We have tried to keep the school day as close as possible to the pre-COVID days, so the transition to back to school would actually be consistent. Later, when we go back to meeting at school, the transition will be almost seamless again, like as close as possible. We don't want to have any revolts when we have to tell them that we're setting the alarm clock again to wake up early. So let's take a couple moments now to share what we can learn from each other's experiences. Please write in the chat, what are some of the things that have worked for you and your family when creating a family schedule? It'd be great if everyone can reply to everyone so we can see each other's responses.
Okay, so we have um, someone saying keeping the same time as pre-COVID days has been a strategy that has worked for cold deep. And then also for the participants, I'm going to stick a link in the chat to this presentation. And if anybody wants to actually talk out, you can raise your hand also, and then I will unmute you so that you can talk. Okay, so Sue says, morning we work on the non-preferred stuff, take a snack break, and then do fun lessons at lunchtime when we may be a little bit tired. And then Sarah says, I've involved my daughter with the planning of activities so that she's more interested in following through with the schedule. It's a great tip.
Yeah, that's great. When they have some input and they'll have the buy-in too.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Yeah, thanks for all your sharing and insight. We are definitely stronger together. What might work for you might definitely be another strategy that a parent can use. So thanks for sharing. I want to go ahead and take a moment here to highlight the difference between creating and managing a schedule. Okay, so creating a schedule has everything to do with the who, what, and when about your day. And managing a schedule has everything to do with the why and how. Why is this important? And how are we going to accomplish this? I'm going to make the claim here that creating a schedule has everything to do with logistics, and managing a schedule has everything to do with discipline. Let me clarify what I mean by discipline. So if you want to save up money to buy a car, you will need to exercise discipline. This may mean not getting takeout as often or getting a side job to supplement income. If you want to be healthy or get in shape, you may need to change your eating habits and start exercising regularly. It will take a little bit of sacrifice, and it might be painful at first. So here, let's talk about what it means to manage a schedule in terms of discipline. Managing students so they accomplish learning goals within a time frame during the day is the key to a teacher's success. Think about what this looks like in a classroom for just a second. Teachers have to harness the collective energy of 24 5-year-olds in the classroom or inspire the mind of 30 or more teenagers. By nature, kids would rather not follow the direction of any teacher. I'm sure you know what that looks like. In a word, teachers have to provide discipline, the exercise and training a child needs to form good habits in order to accomplish their goals. This is what you can do to adapt some teacher strategies. The first is don't give in to crying. Parents can curb whining, crying, and complaining by not giving in when it happens. Kids may be using this as a tactic to avoid doing their assignments and sabotage your work as well. Instead, have your kids calmly tell you what is frustrating them about the assignment. It could be that they need a little bit more explanation about the assignment's directions, and then they can complete the rest of the activity on their own. If your kids actually need an emotional check-in, I'll be talking about that in tip number 2. The next thing you can do is to establish privileges. To help kids get into the habit of doing assignments and household routines without complaining, parents could establish a system where kids earn privileges. For younger children, you can use a sticker chart to acknowledge when kids have worked independently for a short time span. Like start with 10 minutes, and after 6 stickers, that's an hour, they can earn a privilege. For example, 5 extra minutes of riding their bike. Then increase the independent work time span to 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. This way, you'll help create a habit of working independently for longer stretches of time. For older kids who already have an understanding concept of independent work, have them get into the habit of doing assignments and household routines without complaining or talking back. Privileges for older kids may include access to electronic devices for personal use, for free time, or you might even consider an allowance. So here's a quote by Stephen Covey. In his book, Everyday Greatness, Stephen Covey says, "Many people see discipline as the absence of freedom, when in fact it is the source of freedom." What do you think about Covey's statement? Write it in the chat. Discipline is a really hard concept to wrap your mind around sometimes.
So Jamie, I really like how you included the definition of discipline in this, because I think when people hear discipline, it has a negative connotation. And then when the way you describe it as basically, to some extent, self-control in order to accomplish goals, I think that has, it makes the concept more relatable.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we do have somebody. Sue just chimed in. She says, discipline helps in all aspects, so we should practice it in lessons, then expand to all life skills. And then Sarah says, discipline allows us to accomplish the things we want to do. Yes. And Lisa says, discipline is like bumpers or boundaries to stay on track. When kids know their boundaries and can be free in their realm within boundaries. And Veronica says, I believe discipline can be a tool for accomplishing goals. So
yeah, these are really great feedback. And yeah, the more we think about how we want to train our kids, then it helps them to be a little bit more free within their boundaries. So Stephen Covey is the author of the very popular book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And as a side note, I would also recommend his son's books. His son, Sean Covey, wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens and The 7 Habits of Happy Kids. But regarding this quote specifically, Stephen Covey says that taking charge of your life requires discipline, which means saying no to empty passions, saying no to faulty habits, saying no to temptations, and no to meaningless distractions, so that you can say yes to all of your deeper goals and your noble pursuits. As parents, invest your time now in helping your kids develop self-discipline so they can experience freedom as adults. So, since we have experienced abrupt and traumatic changes with sheltering in place, the next thing I want to talk about for maintaining a healthy, balanced life is tip number 2, promoting emotional well-being. It is important for parents to check in on the emotional well-being of your child. If possible, I would recommend doing a quick check-in with your child in the morning, either at breakfast, maybe a short morning walk, or even a good morning hug, a quick good morning hug before learning time begins. Give them reassurance and affirmation. As your schedule allows, I would also recommend at least one sit-down family meal time where everyone can connect on a deeper level. Here are some possible topics to talk about. When you think about your mind, you can ask, what are you grateful for? What expectations of normal am I letting go of? And I know this one is something that my kids are adjusting to as more and more shelter in place, gets extended and things change from week to week. We're adjusting on that one. As for your body, how am I getting outside? Are you moving around? Are you exercising? Are you dancing? Are you eating healthy food? That's a good one. It definitely impacts your mood and how you feel, sustains your energy throughout the day. As for your spirit, how are you nurturing your spirit? Are you praying, meditating, reading inspirational books? Maybe you can ask your kids what beauty they are creating or cultivating or inviting into their life. They can do this by drawing, doing arts and crafts, playing or listening to music. Maybe they're learning an instrument through school or on their own. And finally, who am I checking in on? When you actually connect with others, your spirit gets lifted. I'll be speaking more about this on tip number 3. But here's a little bit of food for thought. I personally am not a counselor or a therapist by trade, so if you need additional resources to support your child's well-being and mental health, I would start by reaching out to your child's school teacher, principal, or school counselor. They may know of some counseling services that the school could provide. You might also consider contacting your child's primary care physician to see if there are counseling services they could recommend. If you would like to read up and get some information, check out these resources provided by Understood. It's a website that provides resources for families of kids who learn and think differently. You can see the link that I have included there. They're learning games that you can easily incorporate into your family time meal or your morning walk. Just check in with your kids and see how they're doing. Kids Health also has some excellent resources with advice on health, behavior, and growth. And it's for kids all the way up through the teen years. Check out NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They are the nation's largest mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for people with mental illness. And finally, my last tip for maintaining a healthy, balanced life is tip number 3, connecting with others. We may be isolated these days, but we are not alone. Sheltering in place just means that we'll have to be a little bit more creative and maybe put a little more effort into connecting with others. Here are some ideas. Start with your immediate family. Eat meals together as a family and work on those intergenerational communication skills. Put your phone away, mom and dad. If you would like to have your kids value authentic relationships, please don't let them use electronic devices during mealtime. Learn to make eye contact, connect, talk with one another, ask them about their day, ask them what worked well. With extended family, have regular video chats with them. Maybe even have FaceTime and have meals together with the monitor right there at the end of the table. Okay, so this might be the exception to the no electronic devices, but connect with people while eating too. All right, with friends and acquaintances, your child's school teacher might already have regular check-ins with them. They might have a virtual recess. That's always fun. Set up a virtual reading buddy. Have them check in with their friends from time to time. Write good old-fashioned letters and cards. Send it via snail mail. It's always exciting to have kids receive letters in the mail. And finally, think about the extended community. Send cards with hand-drawn pictures to residents of senior living facilities, many of whom are already pretty isolated during this time, even pre-COVID, and they may be feeling loneliness. Walk around the neighborhood and greet neighbors safely from a distance. Don't be shy, say hello. So I've talked a great deal here and have presented some concrete suggestions for maintaining a healthy, balanced family life. I'd love to know what you're thinking. Please write in the chat. How do you see these suggestions working for your family? And what is one suggestion you can try today? But I also want to be real. Let me know, what barriers do you see? How might we address these barriers?
And while we're waiting for people to write their questions, just I'm a parent also, and so a barrier has been maintaining the sleep schedule, especially with older kids. Like my kids are 13 and 16, so it's a little more of a challenge. But I just go in the room and wake them up if if I feel they've been asleep too long. But it's hard because I'm trying to work at the same time, so it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So Sue says, I see barriers for non-English parents, parents working out of home in essential jobs, and parents who don't have the capacity to teach lessons to younger kids who need the support. And Susie says, I agree that, about this, the sleeping routine schedule has been a challenge. And then Sarah says, I have a 3 and 8-year-old. I really struggle to help my oldest with school with a very active 3-year-old running around. Oops.
Yeah, those are definitely hard struggles, and it might take some creative juggling. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the comment about parents who don't speak English is something that's also, a real struggle. And that's something that we just started having conversations around that topic as well. So we're hoping to think about that more and offer some more support in that respect soon.
Yeah, and I think it's the same one. She also says she also forgot to add special ed kids and the parents who don't get services.
Yeah.
And then somebody else had mentioned about keeping my kid focused on doing schoolwork. There are a lot of distractions at home.
Yeah, and for the special ed piece, I know, Jamie, I think you were going to mention the Inclusion Collaborative Warm Line. Did we have that as a resource?
Yes, unfortunately, I forgot to add that into the slides, but we can send that out as a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah, so our Inclusion Collaborative has a warm line you can call in with questions. They've extended their hours. So I think they go up until 11 o'clock at night currently, where you can call in with your questions if you need support.
Jenna, are you able to drop the Inclusion Collaborative website into the chat?
So I will put it in the notes page.
Okay.
So that everybody has access to it. And I think you're going to be getting to that page real soon. So you'll have that.
Yeah, and I'll probably update the slides with that information before we post it on our website.
Yes.
And then I think another comment came through.
Oh, yes. Let's see. It says, the device that my child uses to do homework has many distractions that I don't know how to take away.
Yeah, I think, oh, yeah, that's okay. We should research that and see if we could add it to the notes page, because for a while I was using an app called Our Pact, P-A-C-T, and it gave me the ability to turn off access to apps and set a schedule where every night my boys would lose access to the apps on their device, and then they would automatically regain access. But since my boys are a little older, I haven't looked at what's new that's out there. So we can definitely do some research and add it to the notes page, or if someone is using an app that helps with that, maybe they could put it in the chat.
So I'm putting in the chat a link to commonsensemedia.org. They have a lot of great parent resources when it comes to technology and digital use. They do a lot of studies out there for parents, and they have a list of apps. So, but we will definitely do our research and try and get some of that information in our notes as well.
Yeah, for Chromebooks, I'm not sure how much control you have in terms of apps coming up or distractions on the device. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they format those Chromebooks. But I am watching the time, and it is 1:30. I just have a few more remarks. I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. And if you would like a copy of the slide deck or notes with all the resource links, please check out these pages. I have the bit.ly up on the screen, bit.ly/SCCOE parent1. That's for the slide deck. And if you want a copy of the notes with all the resource links, it's bit.ly/SCCOE parent1 notes. I will be posting these up on the parent engagement website, parentengagement.sccoe.org. And alternatively, you can always send me an email at jkoo@sccoe. Our next webinar is going to be reading comprehension support. You can see on the slide there, it's the same time next week on Thursday from 1 to 1:30. We're going to be talking about reading comprehension support, specifically how parents can make connections through conversations. So it's connections with schoolwork and connections with your kids. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Be safe and be well. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.